Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome on in to the 7th round of the RaceFace.Pro ACC GT3 Championship of Season 21. My name is Tristan Herbst, and joining us momentarily in the commentary box while we host a quick joint introduction here is also Stephen Koenig, swinging it around for the Pro Division. How are you doing today, Steve?
Good, and yourself, Tristan, considering round 7 is here and we're all ready to play. I think we're in for an absolutely stunning time at the beautiful circuit, one of my favorites, Donington, to go and just rock around, have a bit of fun with, and see what the guys are going to be able to do.
Absolutely. Donington, Alton is going to be an incredible track to be watching. It's quite a little bit of a difficult track, and I've seen some of the drivers, especially some of my own team drivers, really trying to get the pressure down in terms of practice for this track. It is a difficult circuit. It's a narrow road, meaning overtakes can become slightly complicated, and the grass does tend to trip the car up very easily over here. So we might potentially be seeing some form of incidents here and there today, but we're hoping that we can try and steer clear from that. But other than that, I think it's going to be a great race. Obviously, this is going to be our main division race. 1 hour and 20 minutes of racing and 2 mandatory pit stops. So that is going to play very much so into our pit stop strategies and how people are going to come out towards the end.
That's it. And we've also got to talk about a special situation that is the reason for the joint. Is this will be Tristan Herbst's final night for the weekly racing here at RaceFace.Pro. And from myself, I'd like to say, Tristan, thank you so much for everything that you've done for RaceFace, for all the sim racers out there, taking time away from the steering wheel, away from the family, and getting behind the microphone. And considering this as one of your last broadcasts for the weekly racing, hope that you're in for an absolutely fantastic time here at Donington. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please raise your hands. Give him a big round of applause. Tristan Herbst, absolutely been the voice that you've been hearing every single Thursday for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an honor here at the RaceFace.Pro grandstands and the podiums here, all over the comms boxes. And it's really been a phenomenal time just, getting that chance to be out on the microphone. And like Steven mentions, it's a big emphasis on weekly races. I'm still going to be in the scene. I'm still going to be commentating every now and then. It's just going to be on more of our South African once-off events, as well as our endurance events and bigger events that are a little bit more gapped in between each other. It's just unfortunately the weekly events, it does start to get strenuous, but it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's not over just yet. We've got one more round tonight here at Alton Park, and we are going to give our absolute all. Well, me in particular, I'm going to give my absolute all here for the final time around in the weekly races. But Steve, I think it's going to be a great one. But without further ado, I think it's then time for us to disperse, and we'll meet back again at the end of the race.
Sounds like a plan. Gonna head down to qualifying as we got 9 minutes left of our pro qualifying. Good to have everyone here. Big special welcome to you all. Fantastic to have all the drivers and out there in the virtual grandstands. Lots and lots of support and love coming in from the virtual grandstands for Tristan Herbst. Well, that being said, let's take a look at our championship. Now, we did promise there was going to be some interesting surprises. So Brandon Kruger is out in first place in the championship. Dean Nokia in second. Christoph Peterson in third. Tian Elof, Mahath Musa, Ryan Barrington-Smith, Johan Blicknote in seventh. Mordrake Larsens in eighth. Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, who you see currently on screen wearing the pink, is in ninth place, followed by Jason Farmer. Henry Platt, Gerry Fontel, Connor Bergstrom, Tiana Spuerta, Kieran Patterson, Gerrit Bucas, Paul Fenter going and running in 17th, followed by Andre Seradio, Alan Patterson, and Ruan Heineke in that top 10. So still so much happening out here. It's going to be a great one. Bit of a smaller grid here tonight. 17 cars looking to duke it out. Brandon Kruger leads out the pack with his very, very close time of a 131.9. How on earth you managed to get those paces? It's beyond me. With a 132.4, that is Kieran Patterson, followed by Christoph Peterson and Henry Platt. Michael Donaldson currently 0.3 up on his personal best, along with Daniel de Villiers, Gerrit Bucas, Johan Blicknote, Alan Patterson, Darren Miller in 10th, along with Jason Farmer, the Griffin Sim Racing in 11th. 12th is Paul Fenter in the Honda, looking to recreate some of what he had last night of just being able to get to the end. Connor Bergstrom in 13th. 14th is Richard van Heerden, who's out on circuit, along with Jude Neville, Tiana Spuerta, and Mahath Musa. Now, you may be wondering, where on earth the championship is, because we've got, well, we're missing a couple. And one of them is our second place in the championship, Dean Norkia. Unfortunately, won't be behind the wheel tonight, but will be showing support to his teammates out there for the PWSR and will be out and racing. So always good to see that even though you might be out of the action, you're going to still put in the efforts nonetheless, and huge support going in towards the PWSR team. So always great to see that, but it is a shame that he's not on the grid, and it looks like he's not going to be on the grid for the second last round and the last round coming up. That being said, Christoph Peterson in 4th position, looking to score some big points here. He's running 3rd in the championship, and with sitting on 197 points, he needs to catch up to Dean Norkia's 258 points, while Brandon Kruger, 2 points ahead, now has a bit of breathing room between himself and his competitors. So always good to see out there. Alan Patterson trying to pick up the pace, 0.2 up on his personal best, fights it through the corners with the Aston Martin as he looks to make his way through. Big shout out to all then the virtual grandstands. I see big fans of the Stinger Racing going and saying send it. We've also got Oracle ZA, good to have you, and good to see that we've got some incredible people out there. We've also got like Lokes Randable, Armour coming in and saying hello, good to see, as many join in to see the battle. Rich Finier at the moment, currently 0.4 up on his personal best, trying to make up some time, 0.5 in that last run, along with Jude Neville in 15th. 16th is running with Tienes Buerta, as they're trying to avoid the stray tyres lying out on the circuit that may become a little bit of an impedance to the drivers. I know when I was out on practice trying to see where the grid is and the general feel of it, a lot of drivers are backing off, staying well clear of that particular set of tyres once it's in the way of the road, as it does obstruct. Now, that does move you slightly off apex. We'll get that reset for the race. Now, marshals will have to really work hard with the bundle, and you can see all the drivers just trying to take some avoidance of it. Jason Farmer trying to get the run, as Conor Bergstrom will run right behind him. And go see drivers going and making their way through, seeing how far can they push it up the road in this tremendous battle that we're going to be seeing. So, with Miller out on circuit at the moment, a big shout out to the Miller family once again, going and pioneering the care for cancer, and it's good to have them being a part of the show, being a part of all the racing fun here at RaceFace.Pro. As drivers continue on their way, looking to try and score as many points as possible here at RaceFace. It's going to be a tough one, tough round of contenders, close to the championship, second last to have everyone duking it out. And it's going to be one of those take a deep breath moments and get going underway. You don't want to be caught out in this race. So many drivers, as we do see likes of Miller going off. Looks like we've just lost slight communication with our cameraman, Tim, which we're trying to restore right now to be able to get back and show you all the action happening out on circuit here for RaceFace.Pro. And let's quickly try and figure out how we can do so. I do apologize for the technical difficulties there, but it looks like Tim, the cameraman, has stepped out, leaving us a little bit of a difficult time here at RaceFace.Pro, but we'll hope to get that all system connected and ready to go. So apologies yet again for the miscommunication between our cameras, and so far that has been one of the plaguing problems that has crept up during the course, where everything goes fine and then suddenly we have our radios dying out and lands up with loss of seeing who's where. But we look forward to trying to get back in. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lots and lots online here. Brandon Kruger looking to take his win here tonight. If he gets into first place, he's completely run away with it. Unfortunately, Dean Norkia not able to fight it this time round, but will be aiming for the next couple of races to ensure that he's further up through the order and is able to fight it out here at RaceFace for the championship as he looks on. So good to see that there is that bit of support. Just trying to get ourselves back in for that radio communication towards our cameraman. Allow us to receive all the info yet again here at RaceFace. There we go. Thank you very much. It looks like we have got Tim, the cameraman, back on comms. And right before quali ends, as we jump on board, this is the likes of Daniel, the Hitman de Villiers, running in 4th place. Brandon Kruger leads out the pack, though, with Kieran Patterson in 2nd. Michael Donaldson runs in 3rd. Daniel de Villiers in 4th. Kerry Bukes running in 5th position. Christoph Peterson runs in 6th. Henry Platt in 7th. Johan Blacknote, along with Mahaith Musa. Ooh, lost it under braking and just having that tail snap out underneath him. And I do remember that Mahaith Musa, not too long ago, I think it was last night, was running the Project Vapor side and went racing. So good to see them doing a bit of LMU driving while waiting it out. While we have a short amount of time, I do want to thank a couple of drivers. Believe it or not, we talk about how friendships work out in the world of sim racing. I landed up with a problem today with not being able to use my pedals properly in the sim. And I had a multitude of drivers. First, we had the likes of Herman come and have a chat to us, Herman Pavical. And landed up with Luke Addison coming and trying to help out. Paul Fenter, many others are all coming and join in just to help get the pedals going. So big shout out to all the drivers that assisted me out in the Discord. It was really helpful, and it's good to see that now can go and drive ACC properly on these new set of pedals. That being said, though, Kieran Patterson going up and making his way through will come across the line, and drivers will make their way on the big run, as we do have a bit of words coming in from Johan Bego Krobler, who's one of our previous champions who's gone and fought it out. And Werner Skuman going and saying, skill issues. Yes, completely. I've got gear faster than my talent, and my talent isn't very fast. So, and that's why I just tend to stick around here behind the microphone and get to bring all this amazing action to you guys, whether it's the Pandacity, the OG, the LNRs, everyone, the Griffin Sim Racing, and many more joining us. Christoph Peterson comes across the line to get himself into 3rd place. Kieran Patterson trying to pick up some time. De Villiers trying to pick up some time, along with Michael Donaldson. Garrett Bukes out on track for the Stingers Racing. Had a bit of a rough time last night, but did have a very good recovery drive on his part that you cannot fault in take it away, as we do see Darren Miller moving offline. Garrett Bukes comes across the line. Tennis Buerta, Conor Bergstrom, and Jude Neville will wait it out in pits. That is going to leave only 2 cars of Michael Donaldson and Peterson to cross the line, so we can get all figured out here. Donaldson coming across the line. Can he get himself into 3rd place? And nope, he is going to be having to hold the 2nd row, being in 4th place. Kieran Patterson, though, trying to get a little bit close to the Brandon Kruger. 132.3 to beat. 132.5 was his previous, and he got a 132.317, narrowly missing out on that top run. So definitely a couple of drivers needing to try and push that little bit further up the road and see where they can get the drive. I mean, this is going to be incredible stuff, and it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers are going to handle these very difficult conditions here at Alton Park. And good to see everyone joining in for the fun, as we will be heading down to the grid shortly to take a look at our incredible drivers as they line up on the line. Long formation lap, not a short formation lap here, and it's going to be an outright fight. Remember, championships are on the line. For Brandon Kruger, he needs to finish within the top 3 to secure his championship win over Dean Nokia, who won't be here tonight. And we've got Christoph Peterson looking to hunt him down. He runs in 3rd place, a little bit further down from that. Tian Elof, unfortunately, not racing this evening as well, so he will be out of action. Mahaith Musa, who is down the order, is running 5th and looking to score some valuable points. Ryan Barrington-Smith, unfortunately, also not going to be in the grid. So he's going to be waiting out. Johan Blicknote, along with Mordrake Clarsons, one of the Pandacity cars, unfortunately not making it to the grid. So a couple of cars are out. One of the Pandacity cars being Tinas Buerta is here. So it's going to be a proper run. And once again, a little debate coming in of, does gear make you faster from a variety of drivers out there in the virtual grandstand? I would have to say no, it doesn't. Many of these drivers race on G29's table, on the table clamps to get them going, and not running the big fancy direct drives and such. So it's always good to see that gear doesn't make the driver. The driver's skill makes it work. Alan Patterson, who's out on the grid, will be also cheering on and saying good luck to everyone. So Alan, who is on a proper run through it all. Good to see. He's giving it a bit of a cheer, a bit of a shout, and a good luck. Actually, Alan will need to try and figure out how he can make up some room. Lying in 9th place at the moment. He is a bit surrounded, but he wants to keep up with his team as drivers start to make their way. Remember, this is a 1 hour, 20-minute race with 2 mandatory pit stops that need to be served. You have to put at least 1 liter of fuel into the car and then get yourself back up and going. Are you going to change tires? Tire degradation is something that many of the drivers are very concerned around the circuit, but let's see how it's going to play out as they make their way through. So let's go through our RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship Round 7, our second last round of the championship. Brandon Kruger in first place, with Kieran Patterson in second. Christoph Peterson in third, followed by Michael Donaldson, Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, Johan Blicknote, Gerrit Bukes, along with Henry Platt, Alan Patterson, Jason Farmer, Mahayath Musa running in 11th, along with Paul Venter, Richard van Heerden in 13th. 14th is Darren Miller, Tinas Buerta in 15th, Conor Bergstrom running in 16th, and Jude Neville rounding out the pack as they get ready to rock and roll here at the beautiful Alton Park. It's always fantastic to go and see drivers stepping up their pace, trying to figure out where they can get a little bit more drive underneath them. How close can they put themselves to the sharp end of the field? Well, we're only going to find out in a very brief moment around this very tricky circuit that doesn't play well when you're coming to track limits. We heard last night a couple of drivers saying they were flirting with the stewards and testing those track limits out right at the last. Let's see if they've learned where those are, how far you can push the boundaries, and where are you needing to go. So 17 cars for our pro grid lined up. You can see the multitude of GT3 cars all getting themselves going. Nice, gentle on the way through, warming up their brakes and tires to ensure that they're ready to go on this 15-degree circuit. It is a bit chilly out here. The drivers are going to do everything they can to ensure that they keep closing up that gap. Brandon Kruger and Kieran Patterson will start it out between one another. Both in front engines, looking to try and utilize every bit of curbing out there. Brandon Kruger in the Mustang much heavier than the likes of the Aston Martin, but BOP coming into favor of the likes of the Aston Martin on the run. I know when I drove the BM, it was about a kilo heavier than the rest, and we saw multitude guys going up to 18 kilos due to the LFM BOP. As Kieran Patterson lines himself up, he'll be on the outside. Brandon Kruger will have the inside line into turn 1, but is going to be in the tightest part of the circuit as they round their way through. Final corner to come. Up the hill they go, and heading towards Tim as they get ready to go. Lights on, lights on, lights on. Jeff holding the lights, and away we go racing for round 7 of the championship. Brandon Kruger trying to go defensive, holds the defensive inside line and manages to keep the likes of Kieran Patterson at bay. Christoph Peterson immediately getting lunged on by the likes of Michael Donaldson and Blicknote trying to come back in, and Blicknote feeling the pressure from Daniel de Villiers on the way through. All the drivers have to be very careful as we do see Rich van Heerden, Jude Neville, but Conor Bergstrom going and landing up with a bit of a problem. as he's further down the pack. Now having to play a little bit of catch-up. Thankfully, no damage to the car, but definitely not how he wanted to start his race. Daniel de Villiers keeping a hot pressure onto the back of Johan Bloknoot. Straight up ahead, though, Brandon Kruger looking to try and open up the gap to Kieran Patterson on their way through. And Patterson still keeping up the fight. The Aston Martin not running our legs here. Christoph Peterson will be trying to keep a defensive run as Michael Donaldson looking for him here on Bloknoot. And we do have yellow flags. Richard van Heerden, Jude Neville, and Connor Bergstrom all like they landed in one big accident between them. The 31 trying to just get into reverse gear and turn around. So let's quickly take a look here and see what happens. So this is the likes of Jude Neville onto the back of Richard van Heerden's Ferrari. Getting it all hooked up. Oh, Miller lands up, catching Jason Farmer. That creates a concertina effect. And Jude Neville getting turned around. He puts it into the wall. Connor Bergstrom gets taken out of the process as well. So, bit of hard luck there, unfortunately. And when that huge concertina effect comes in, many drivers start to feel it. Michael Donaldson pushing on the back of Christoph Peterson, who would have got word at the back from Jude Neville saying, listen, I've got a bit of damage on the car. Landed up with a bit of a problem. Yellow flags all looking clear, but just be aware that there may be a loss of grip out there. Alan Patterson keeping the pressure towards Henry Platt, but Mahath Musa gaining some time in the BMW, hoping to stay in for the fight. Paul Fenter keeping ahead of Jason Farmer. The Griffin Sim Racing team now looking to hunt down head of the logistical nightmare PC division at the moment. So good to see the drivers really stretching out their legs a little bit. Donaldson keeping in tow with Peterson. Bloknoot getting the drive on him, though. Will look to try and go for the outside line. Donaldson holding a middle line here to ensure he doesn't run into any problems. We'll instantly have Daniel de Villiers coming back at him, and very crucial not to make mistakes here, as we do see the likes of Claire Bukes, Henry Platt and Alan Patterson still having a good go. A little bit further behind. Rich van Heerden in the pits, getting some repair work done to his car, and hopefully we'll get that car back out on track after some chaos that happened. Huge concertina, nowhere to go, and this is something he had over the past weekend, where just arriving on the scene of an accident and landing up, getting himself a little bit broken out there. But the never die attitude of Richard van Heerden will definitely show its face once again, as we do see a couple of drivers pulling into the pits, Jason Farmer being one of those. Rich van Heerden now exiting pit lane, will rejoin a lap down on the field, but after having a bit of repair work done to his car, after shortening that nose big time, he's going to have to really keep on the gas on the way through. As we do see Mahath Musa and Alan Patterson still keeping a solid pressure on one another. Alan in the PWSR pink, just maintaining his lead. Oh, goes and touches the grass. Turned around, saves it, brings it out from the wall. Very lucky there. Cross arm and slide all the way, but unfortunately drops down the order as Miller gets on by. Here comes Tiernas Buerta to have a look. Not close enough to strike just as yet. Bloknoot having another look at Donaldson in tow, trying to pull himself along. Connor Bergstrom, though, runs out a bit wide, and he's thrown himself into the dirt, having to just try and keep it all together. So drivers are starting to feel it in the early stages of this race. Whoa, Bloknoot getting a tank slapper as he caught the dirt. And now de Villiers has got the drive. Will try the outside line. Keeps it nice and close. Switches around and just keeps ahead of Bloknoot. So de Villiers up into 5th position. That has allowed Kerry Bukes of the Stinger Racing to have a good look around. See where he can go on this point. Going to be an absolute dogfight between them, as he's got Henry Platt chasing him down. We do see Michael Donaldson putting the pressure on Christoph Peterson just ahead and shot as they maneuver their way around. So Platt needs to now figure out how on earth is he going to get past the Stingers Racing Gerrit Bukes, who has put up a phenomenal charge every step of the way. And even though there has been some tough times out there for the driver, he has constantly shown off what he can do as a good, hard, solid defense. The question is, how far are they willing to go? Tyre starting to degrade as we see Connor Bergstrom now pulling into the pit lane, making our 3rd car to dive into the pits, get himself sorted out. Battle for 3rd place though as we see Donaldson keeping the pressure on Peterson at the moment. Peterson able to open up that length down the back straight and continue on his drive. So will be going and just focusing on the next one. Mahath Musa, though, lining himself up, looked for the inside of Henry Platt. Couldn't get that pass done and dusted. Has to wait it out yet a little bit longer at this point as they continue to drive. So Musa needing everything he can to just try and stretch open that gap a little bit more to the likes of Paul Fenter and get a little bit closer to Henry Platt just ahead of him and join onto the train as they chase each other down. Alan Patterson pulling Darren Miller along. The two PWSR cars want to try and break away from Tienes Buerta, who's making some proper headway at the moment, trying to see where he can land up. But with the two teammates going and towing each other along, it's going to make it rather difficult. Third place, though, one little lift, one little mistake from Christoph Peterson will chuck him all the way down into 9th position. And that is where Mahath Musa is. And that's how close this little train is actually holding on to one another. And as the teammates are fighting it out with one another, they align their competitors to get closer and closer. Garrett Bukes being one of those that's looking to capitalize, staying away from the likes of Henry Platt. Just by 0.8 of a second, Mahath Musa still hunting him down late on the anchor, swings the car in, trying to really get that nose to bite underneath him. Not able to get the drive just as yet, but if he can get through this kink just right, he will be in for a big money situation. Now, gets on the power early, but unfortunately the Aston Martin just having the legs on him. Rasmussen is going to keep into the slipstream, pulling himself along, looks for the inside again, backs out of it, waits for yet another opportunity to continue his drive. So Mahath Musa having to just wait it out yet again on the track, will follow the Aston Martin through in this incredibly long race. Remember, it's a 1 hour 20 minutes with 2 mandatory pit stops, which means anything can happen. We jump on board to our Nismo GTR, our Nissan GTR of Daniel de Villiers, as he keeps the pressure on Michael Donaldson, who tried to have a look at Christoph Peterson just ahead of him, wasn't able to get it done. Switching to the outside line here, and de Villiers going to try his luck. Late on the anchors, tries to throw it in, possibly undercut coming in, gets alongside and has got the drive. Side by side they go. Donaldson trying to fight back, dives on the inside, and these two are elbow to elbow, knees to toes, and it does look like Donaldson able to retake his position here away from de Villiers. Blicknote having a look, and de Villiers going and just moving his wheels over slightly just to see, hey, listen, don't come after me just as yet. I am still on the attack here. Garrett Bukes will be more than happy with this, as it does bring him back into the fight to continue on his race. So Garrett Bukes running a little bit further down in the 333, finally getting a race that he really wanted to get into the fight, get into the nitty-gritty, and an opportunity to get into that top 5 situation. Blicknote losing a bit of time here to de Villiers, under breaking a fraction too early, but does bring it back all the way out of that complex, and now needs to try and figure out where the top end's going to help out on it. Daniel de Villiers, though, not going to back down from the fight, continues to put mountain loads of pressure onto the back of Donaldson, and having mountain loads of pressure put onto him by the likes of Johan Blicknote. No drivers out of this race as yet, but those that have done the pit stop, Mahath Musa, Jason Farmer, Connor Bergstrom, and Richard van Heerd, have all done their pit stop. So they've done and dusted. They're going to continue on the race to ensure that there is no problem. They've got one more stop to do, and now there is a bit of a handful of selection they can do. Richard doing a lot of repair work to his car. Connor Bergstrom the same, but is splash and dash for Mahath Musa and Jason Farmer looking at their time. So they're going to try and just run the long game here, as Darren Miller starting to deal with Tienes Buerta on the way through. Tienes Buerta trying to have a bit of a drive, as we do see Rich van Heerd missing the corner by light years, but saving the car on his way through, not to get caught out too much. Daniel de Villiers and Johan Blicknote now going a little bit of elbows out racing between them, all keeping it fairly clean between one another. Donaldson still onto the back of Peterson, trying to see where he can get on by. So there was a slight bit of contact between the 53 and the 333, as they make their way around. Let's see if we can try and figure out what happened to the 53. So this is Jan Blicknote in the Mustang GT3, GTD setup, and late on the anchors, swings the car in, sees de Villiers out wide, and a little bit of paint rub there, but no harm, no foul. That did allow Gerrit Bukes to gain a little bit of time to get back into the race. So always great to see drivers trying out to see where things go. Jude Neville, however, into the wall, spun round, comes back onto circuit, and now just trying to keep himself going, gets overtaken by Mahath Musa and Jason Farmer. So Jude losing that car in a very, very big way. Let's quickly go and jump on board with him and see what happened inside the car. So keeping the power on, going and clipping too much of the curb. Yep, too much of the curb, a little bit of the grass, spun round. He's able to protect it out of the wall, so very, very slight damage coming in, but not enough to really hurt the car. So good to see he's able to save it, he's able to keep going, but definitely going to be a bit further down the order. Michael Donaldson will need to try and close up and get past Christoph Peterson, because now he's got Daniel de Villiers, Johan Blicknote, and Gerrit Bukes on the back of him. Don't count out Henry Platt as well a little bit further down. Darren Miller keeping back Tianus Buerta as they fight their way through. A little bit of crop dusting getting kicked up, but it is going to be Miller in the Porsche, middle of the circuit, keeps it clean, trying to hold back the likes of Tianus Buerta. Jude Neville off into the dirt yet again. This is coming out of turn 4. That's allowed Jason Farmer to get on by. Jason Farmer will continue to take his run. Oh, Christoph Peterson into the wall, landing up with a bit of a problem. The number 7 not having an easy time out there, immediately comes out in front of his teammate Paul Fenter, who wants to have a go, and he's got Kieran Patterson for a bit of luck. So Paul Fenter getting shoved to the outside line, trying to figure out where he can go as Christoph dives into the pits, try to get his pit stop done and dusted. Not ideal, and let's quickly go back and see what happened as they made their way through. So this is Christoph Peterson keeping an eye on his race, and unfortunately we're having Donaldson. Oh, rear contact and bang into the wall. Bit of damage to the rear of that Mercedes. Donaldson will definitely be carrying a bit of nose damage on his car. They'll slow him up in the top end. Taking a look out to our virtual grandstands, we've also got Dinock here, who's not on the track this evening. And it's sad to say that he's not on the track this evening, but going and cheering on, as we reported a little bit earlier, supporting his BWSR and putting in some work for later developments to be done. So good to see that Dean's still here, still showing in the support, but when having a bit of a conversation with him during the course of the entire racing, Wynn said no, his game focus is a little bit shifted at the moment. He's going to be working on a bit of practice, try and accelerate a little bit more, try and push his way further up in the racing in the long run. Unfortunately, a bit of family coming in, and he is not able to race the final 2 races, but still showing in that good support. So thanks, Dino. Good to see that you're back out there enjoying the racing. As Johan Blicknote catching up to Donaldson ahead of him. And Daniel de Villiers, who is in that top 5 situation, is in clear water. Oh no, that is Paul Fenter losing the rear of the 42. What on earth happened? Oh, clip of the dirt, got it sideways. Definitely not going to enjoy that one. That may have just heated up the tires a little bit more than planned. And there it is. Unfortunately, that little bit of a slide took a bit out of him, and he clipped the wall ever so slightly. There's going to be a bit of damage to that car, but not enough that is going to throw him further down the course. So good to see drivers still out there pushing as hard as they can. Conor Bergstrom in pit lane. He serves his 2nd pit stop. Interesting time. Conor Bergstrom now doing all his pit stops done and dusted. And a bit of an early one, I would say, with 1 hour and 4 minutes to go to then change tires and refuel. He's hoping to possibly get it to the end. You can, but it's going to be a very, very close call in terms of fueling. Darren Miller and Tianus Buerta fighting it out, and these two are rock'em sock'em. Let's go for it between the two. And it does look like Tianus Buerta getting a much better drive out with the 720S Evo McLaren up against the 992 GT3R Porsche, as Darren Miller defensively holds that inside line, ensuring they can just stop it on the apexes, causing a little bit of aero wash to come off the back of the Porsche onto the McLaren, getting it upset and just giving him a little bit more breathing room. Michael Donaldson dealing with Blicknote at the moment. De Villiers sitting in 5th place along with Garrett Bukes as he runs in 6th, trying to make up some time. Henry Platt's a little bit further down in 7th position. Hopes to push himself that little bit more and join the fray as it goes on. Bit of a lockout happened last night. Let's see if it's going to be happening anymore again. Blicknote doing everything he can to make up some ground to Donaldson and ensure he stays within that toe. But Brandon Kruger leads out the pack with Kieran Patterson in 2nd. 3rd place, Michael Donaldson with Johan Blicknote running in 4th. 5th place is Daniel De Villiers, Garrett Bukes, Henry Platt, Alan Patterson, Darren Miller, Tiernas Buerta, Maya Musa, Jason Farmer, Christoph Peterson, as Paul Fenter comes out of pit lane. He will get out in front of his teammate Jude Neville, who is still yet to pit after his escapade. So he's on a bit of a hurt train at the moment, hoping that he can stay on the back of the guys for a little bit longer and push himself in the fight. Blicknote now trying to force Donaldson into a mistake. Might be teammates, but definitely no team orders being told there, as Blicknote is not giving Donaldson enough room to get a little bit of breathing. Now, taking a look for the likes of Blicknote, who is lying in 7th in the championship at current. He is caught behind Michael Donaldson, who's 21st in the championship. So ultimately, if there was a conversation to come up, will it be let the drivers swap around and get going? Darren Miller and Tiernas Buerta going and fighting their way out and seeing where they can get going. Tiernas Buerta onto the back of Miller as he pushes harder and harder. Henry Platt onto the back of Garrett Bukes as they make their way through in a proper ding-dong battle. Taking a look over to our virtual grandstands and with Jan Bego Krobler going in, bringing up a few questions about the racing, and let's see how it's all going to be. So, a bit of reports coming in from all our drivers as we do see Christoph Peterson pulling in the pits yet again, serving his 2nd pit stop, trying to get it out of the way, get himself done, and continue on the race nonetheless. So very, very good to see that the drivers are going and making their way through. Oh, Jason Farmer, on the other hand, definitely taking a bit of pain in the 369 car. Might have just put a wheel on the dirt. Very close there. Now it's into turn 5. We did see Dean Nokia had the same problem last night, where he just ran out a little bit wide, touched the curb just like that, and it went very, very wide. Unfortunately, wasn't able to stop the car in time before catching the wall. Something so easily done by drivers, and you think you could take that little bit more of a curb, but it's actually got a horrible little step to it that tends to rocket these cars all over the show, taking away all that aero underneath the car, underneath that diffuser, that flat fall, and you land up with drivers going in towards the brick wall. So definitely some tough fights out there. Tiernas Buerta keeping the pressure on the back of Darren Miller as they continue onwards. So good to see that the drivers are fighting their way out. We do have, however, Dean Nokia to come and have a little bit of an interview. Maybe he can give us a bit of insight to what's been going on in the PWSR camp, especially with the racing, as they've been proving step by step. Dean Nokia, welcome to the commentary box. Sad to see you not in the car, but good to see you out there going and supporting your team on a tremendous effort. I mean, lots of work has been done behind the scenes of the PWSR by the looks of it.
That is very true. Unfortunately, it is like that. It is what it is. Silly mistake from my side. I'll take it on the chin. Obviously, it doesn't say anything about the character, but I have to support the boys and still the racing. There's no hard feelings. Apart from all of that, you know, I think everyone's gone through it in their racing career, so might as well do mine early on. Apart from that, no, the racing seems solid. I'm not sure why the turnout's only 17 drivers here, so I actually missed what possibly could be the reason for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, a couple of drivers not making it to the grid. But you're getting to see some of the fights out there. Oh, Tiernas Buerta nearly towards the wall and nearly clipping the McLaren Sports sign. Going through that second last corner, that long right-hander, bit of aero wash tucking underneath him and throwing the car out a bit wide. Taking a look back at the championship, though, it has been a roller coaster ride for the entire team of PWSR. You guys have been on a serious drive to move forward in your racing and to see where it all going to turn out. At the moment, PWSR Alpha 2 is running in second place in the championship, and PWSR Bravo is running 8th in the championship. What's the game plan that's running through? Because there's an opportunity here for the teams to score well.
Yeah, look, I know the one thing that was heavily discussed was the fact that regarding team orders and stuff like that, obviously whoever's going to be like in the championship fights or the head of the fight, just keep it clean, keep it consistent, and bag points where you can. Don't do any erratic or stupid stuff. Obviously, any racer, pro or amateur, can still make a mistake, but as long as it's not a mistake that comes from deliberately bad driving or bad decisions or overly aggressive driving, it's going to obviously be forgivable and move on. But I think the big thing at this moment is to finish up the season nice and strong. Daniel did very well this season on the sprint side, as well as now obviously Kieran, with him going away, he just wants to finish off this last nice one and get it through. The Alan, though, has really been taking, how can I say, a little bit seriously, as he's got like new kick in life, etc. So it's quite interesting to see how it's going to pan out.
Now, we've seen Alan currently lying in 8th place, and we keep in on Daniel De Villiers, Gerrit Bucas, and Johan Bloknight all together. An interesting mix of vehicles, 2 Ford Mustangs and a Nissan GTR around this circuit. What has been the fundamental problems that PWSR is currently facing, and what sort of strategies can we expect coming out of the PWSR camp, as we do see Jason Farmer is doing his second pit stop, and that's going to be quite a few. That's going to be 3 drivers that have done their full pit stops to continue on the race.
If specifically speaking about tonight's race, we all know that Daniel was a little bit of a, how can I say, a pusher, the limiter. So he's obviously going to try and push and keep it up with the guys ahead, have himself a nice little battle. I know he's very passionate about battling. And then apart from that, Alan is just trying to keep it clean and consistent. He doesn't obviously try and keep up with the top 3 or 4, but he tries to hit the same lap after lap after lap. As to Darren, obviously, I know he's also on a smooth and consistent strategy here. With Kieran, it's quite difficult to say because we obviously see that Daniel Kruger has got some solid pace. I don't think Kieran had too much practice coming into this as well, but I think he's still in 2 minds with regards to how he's going to run the rest of the race. Seeing now that it's only himself and Kruger currently in the lead going there, that's fine.
Well, it's going to be a tough one. Well, before I let you go, and considering you're out for this round and the next round, anything you would like to say to all the partners here at RaceFace.Pro, to all the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, the absolute petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstand that you are standing next to?
Yeah, to be very honest with you, all the racers and all the guys that's currently competing and the turn-up, I just want to say to everybody, thanks a lot for the season. Thanks for the Fast Oaks, who I've been really privileged enough to learn from in the last, how can I say, 2 seasons since my return to ACC. So it's been massive. I've learned from everyone, whether they be friends or rivals or teammates. I'm a league, so I try to do that. So thank you to all of the racers. It's really been fun. A couple of mistakes here and there, that's just human and normal. We learn from that, we move on. And also all the petrol heads, just a little thing as well from my side. I would hope that we could see more sportsmanship, more respect moments that we've seen on track, all the great driving, the side-by-sides, and always remember that this is a hobby that we all enjoy together, whether we take it super competitive, super fun, casual. We all come here to try and escape, so we can be rivals but friends at the same time off track. So thank you to everybody for that. And then secondly or lastly, to all the sponsors, obviously the guys that make this possible. I think there's a lot of unknowns and people in the back end, especially like you, Stephen. Your calendar is crazy from what I've seen, so thank you very much for taking the time to bring a nice vibe and professional commentary section to this division here. So I truly appreciate that from you too as well, bro.
Oh, absolutely great to have you, and sad to see that the season ending off the way it is. Good to see you though out in the grandstands as Paul Fenter has come to a stop out on circuit. Something's gone on with his car. Thank you very much, Dean, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. So Dean O'Keefe of PWSR coming in, having a bit of a chat and getting to go. Paul Fenter getting towed back to pit lane though. We did see a bit of contact between Blicknote and Donaldson. That has allowed De Villiers to close up the gap and really do everything he can. Maeth Musa getting a big fan from Aiden Russell. Now, I do want to point out, I think it's Aiden Russell that, and I'm to be corrected here, Aiden, that has been doing commentary on the Project Vapor. Oh, Blicknote goes a little bit sideways, and we'll get back to that one as Daniel De Villiers gets on the outside of him. De Villiers trying to look to get the pass done and dusted. Blicknote sends it on the inside, still side by side. Both drivers door to door as they come on by. Blicknote giving a little bit of a paint rub there as he moves on. But a quick one, yes. I think it's Aiden Russell that's been commentating on the Project Vapor LMU Sprint Dash, or the Project Vapor Dash, I think it's called, which is on Lamar Ultimate. Just want to say a big shout out to him as well on the tremendous work that they have done with their broadcasting that side, and also the amazing commentary being brought in. So great to have you guys. Big well done to you all as Alan Patterson goes and makes his way around the circuit and is now into the pit lane. And Tianas Buerta going to be fighting it out with Darren Miller. I think a couple of interesting conversations coming in for a variety of different seasons and what's to come. I'm going to toss my hat into the ring while we got 52 minutes to go. I would personally enjoy racing the Radical SR8 versus the SR10. Both are, they're both within the same speed of one another. Incredibly fun cars, but I would like to see that two radicals having a go at one another. How's that one for a bit of an interesting one? As we do see Tianas Buerta keeping the pressure on Darren Miller at the moment, trying to focus up on what he can do. Nose to tail racing, and so far Tianas Buerta just not making up that ground on Miller. Brandon Kruger leads out the pack. Kieran Patterson in second place as he looks to try and make his way past one of the logistical nightmare racing Mercedes. Donaldson in third, followed by Blicknote. Daniel De Villiers has slowed off the pack a little bit there. Kerry Pukes are down in 6th, 7th position. Henry Platt along with Darren Miller. Tianas Buerta in 9th, 10th place is Maeth Musa, followed by Alan Patterson, Jude Neville, Christoph Peterson, Jason Farmer, Richard Van Heerden still out on track, keeping ahead of Conor Bergstrom. Paul Fenter, unfortunately, towed his car back to pit lane. And this is going to be a proper run of all the drivers giving it the absolute all. And so much to go on, so much driving here in the world of RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship. And round 7 of the championship means that it's vital for drivers to score big and walk away with some big points to be hopefully some great stuff. And we are just getting a bit of reports. Aiden saying no, just do the admin and coordinating for the league. So shout out there. That's no easy feat, and I think Hansi Marburg can agree with you on that one. Streaming is all Sinclair. Used to be Charles, but appreciate the support. So good to see that Sinclair jumping in, and Charles as well, going and doing a bit of commentary. Was listening to the racing, guys. Really good ones. And as a fellow commentator to another one, guys, keep up the incredible work of that awesome commentary. As we see Darren Miller losing a bit of time, Tianas Buerta closing up on the back of him. Johan Blicknote and Donaldson rejoining the fight with one another. So they might actually land up into a bit of a boxing fight and bring Daniel De Villiers back into the fray, who's now 1.5 seconds back. Donaldson running a little bit later into the corner. We'll have the likes of Blicknote trying to hunt him down. Daniel De Villiers 1.5 seconds back, though, is just trying to see where he can go. Tianas Buerta has a go at Darren Miller on the way through. 49 minutes to go. Nearly said 49 seconds. There's 49 minutes to go. Darren Miller in 8th. 9th place is Tianas Buerta as they continue on their drive. So far, drivers that have completed their pit stop is Christoph Peterson, Jason Farmer, and Conor Bergstrom. Richard Vanieta still got one more stop to go, and the rest of the field is still needing to do their first pit stop. Really running it late into the race here. One of the tires starting to feel like, as we are starting to see more and more understeer creeping in from a variety of these drivers. Blicknote trying to go around the outside of Donaldson as they go late on the anchors. Just doing a little bit of defense. And I think that has just compromised him both a little bit as Blicknote loses out the drive. De Villiers puts his nose in. Oh, no contact. And, oh, big impact into the wall for De Villiers. He's able to get it going, but that is a monstrous, monstrous impact. And not what he wanted to have as he tumbles down the order. Let's quickly go to a helicam and see what happens here. So Donaldson and Blicknote are fighting each other. Donaldson in the Ferrari, Blicknote in the Mustang. Side by side they go. Continues on the drive. Loses out a little bit of time. Looks to try put it 3 wide. Oh man, just lost out. And unfortunately, as Blicknote was coming back onto the circuit, didn't see the likes of De Villiers. Contact happened between the two of them. And that was pretty much that. Tianas Buerta and Darren Miller having a go at one another, and Miller having one of the best drives he's had in the season. Really, really good to see that old Thriller Miller himself is still in for a rocketing time as he tries to make up a few positions during the course of the race. I mean, Darren Miller, he finished 20th in round 1, 26th in round 2, didn't start in round 3, 20th in round 4, followed by the likes of 23rd and 16th. So being here in the top 8 is going to be his absolute cracker shot to move up through the order. So he needs to pull the trigger on this one and keep going. Mahath Musa will still continue on the drive into the slipstream, looking where he can get by. Can't really get that bit of momentum. We'll have to wait it out that little bit longer as the drivers continue on their momentum. Tianas Buerta going and fighting it out nonetheless. And now we'll have to switch focus for the Pandacity team to ensure he doesn't get held into a difficult battle. So there's always that up and down where they're going to go. And drivers are going and losing that little bit of time. Darren Miller going and breaking away as Tianas Buerta gets busy with Mahath Musa looking inside, outside, looking where he can go. It is going to be a proper fight nonetheless on the incredible run. And, oh, Tianas Buerta, Mahath Musa having contact. Tianas loses it. Oh, boy, that was an absolute miss for the 54. Let's go to the helicam here because this just got wild for Tianas Buerta and Mahath Musa, who were fighting it out, and how close they managed to miss is beyond me. So, Tianas tried to turn in on the right, lost that little bit of momentum. Oh, he caught the wall. If it wasn't for the wall, if it wasn't for that wall, Mahath Musa would be singing with the angels. And Tianas Buerta, unfortunately, taking major impact from that, will be into the pits trying to do some repair work on his car. So is Connor Bergstrom, who is in the pits trying to get some work done to his car. My word, absolutely, that was scary. Jude Neville letting Daniel De Villiers get by, and now loses out of points. He was trying to mind out for one of this gaming Mustangs, as we do see De Villiers pulling into pit lane. Will get himself sorted out, and now it's going to be an interesting run because we have got Christoph Peterson trying to make some drive to Jude Neville, who at this current point of time has got Kieran Patterson at him. I mean, that is going to be a proper one. And then Donaldson and Blicknote still running a bit of formation, flying out there, and definitely going to try and make his way through. I think Tianas Buerta was adding a little bit of extra tires to that tire wall by putting all 4 of his McLaren slicks onto the tire wall. I mean, these tires do cost a pretty penny. They do work rather well, but they do cost an absolute fortune to be able to use. I think, yeah, put it in South African rands, it's about 30,000 rand a set of tires for this lot. Don't quote me on that one. I think the better people to answer that is actually guys that work from ATS, and ATS is watching. They do watch in the future, so it would be nice down to let us know for GT3 tires that's out there. What's the general running price of them? I mean, we swap them out in sim racing like we swap out our underpants at this point. but it's just absolutely great to see that we're able to utilize that sort of data to improve the sims that are going around, considering that it's going to be a proper run. In terms of what tires do they use, Pirellis. I think it's the only way I can tell you. Not sure of the sizes. Not playing that much into the big banger bucks, that's for certain. Kieran Patterson now into the pits. This is to try and usurp the likes of Brandon Kruger, try and undercut him a little bit. 44 minutes left of the race, and there's a great opportunity here. Unfortunately, one retiree is Paul Fenter, who is out of tonight's race, as Donaldson and Blicknote now take second and third respectively. Kieran coming out of pit lane. We'll keep an eye out. Pierre Bukes pulls into pit lane. Henry Platt now in fifth place will get a bit of a drive and chase down Kieran Patterson, running nearly 6 seconds up the road. Darren Miller breaking away from Mahath Musa after their close run, with Alan Patterson in 9th position. Jude Neville coming in, bouncing all over the curbs, doing everything he can to stay in for the fight. Christoph Peterson, his teammate, going to be keeping a bit of pressure on him, and Christoph carrying the crown for the Evolution Racing Academy 5-time champion. Now we'll look to try and battle it out and see where he can do to really move forward. Blicknote and Donaldson still continuing on the drive as they try and keep a bit of formation at the moment, keeping a Omnius Gaming 1, 2, 3, but Kieran Patterson is close enough to make a bit of an impact here, and I think he will slot himself in for the fight to Blicknote and Donaldson, as that is our closest fight on circuit. But it doesn't look like Blicknote's going in for the attack. Brandon Kruger, though, pulls into the pits. Donaldson, long since gone, catches the wall, trying to get himself going, and just sliding that car around has Kieran Patterson get on by. Michael Donaldson losing out under the braking and throws the tail towards the wind. Mahath Musa looks for the inside line around Darren Miller. Couldn't get that past. Dun and Dust is going to be waiting out. Brandon Kruger now going and dropping down into second place. Lost out to Kieran Patterson as he pulled in a lap later than Kieran. Is it going to work out for him? And this is going to be a proper chase on the way through. Musa and Darren Miller continue their drive. Nose to tail, the big BMW hunting down the Porky Pig Porsche of Darren Miller and utilizing all that pink. I don't think Mahath Musa is going to miss his markers as we take a look. This is off the rear wing of him. You can see the gradients that they actually have to go through during the course of the circuit. And right behind them, Brandon Kruger will be trying to make up some time on his climb back to the sharp end of the field after his pit stop. But so far, Jude Neville's the only one in that bunch, along with Tianus Buerta, that needs to get himself sorted. So both Tianus Buerta, Richard van Heerde as well, looking to do one more stop. Tianus Buerta needing 2 more stops. Jude Neville 2 more stops. And so far, Mahath Musa will be chasing down Miller. Now, Miller's in the top 5. Musa's already done his first pit stop. It was a splash and dash. Didn't change tires on that run. So he's going to now try and keep himself a little bit closer to Miller. And as we jump on board with Porsche, we can just see that big BMW breathing down the neck of our Porsche on the way through. So definitely some wild racing had by our drivers, and not going to be done just as yet, as Musa keeps the pressure onto the likes of Miller. Continuing on their drive, Kieran Patterson now taking that first place as Blicknote into the pit lane. Donaldson in second. Henry Platt will hold third. Blicknote waiting to get out. We'll see Darren Miller and Mahath Musa come past. Mahath dives into the pits, though, to get his final pit stop done and dusted. So he's going to go the long game here. He's going to have to keep an eye out because Christoph Peterson is the challenger. And this is going to be a proper run. And getting some reports, it's 20k per tire, so not per set. Yeah, that's definitely, I'll keep to my 14-inch Golf tires. I think that might be a bit more reasonable at this point. Not even the slicks. Semi-slicks at most. Can use them for a little bit longer. Road tires if I want to really get a long way racing. But this is carried over, and that's what the sim is all about. Utilizing the tire physics to ensure that they bring the GT3 action a lot closer to what they are in real life. So Kieran Patterson leads out the pack, and he's still got one more stop to do. Looking at generally how long pit stops take, takes roughly about 32.6 seconds of Brandon Kruger's time to be able to get it. So now with Kieran Patterson 6 seconds away from Michael Donaldson, 8 seconds away from Henry Platt, and looking at just over 20 seconds away from Darren Miller, his teammate, he might be able to keep ahead of Brandon Kruger, but not by much. If he does do a tire change, that's going to be it. Michael Donaldson now into the pit. Brandon Kruger has switched out his tires. He's got a new fresh set of boots on this Mustang to carry him to the end, hoping to just try and push himself that a little bit more, ensure that he can try and do a splash and dash at the end, as we've got 38 minutes left of round 7. And so far, Mahath Musa leads out those that have completed their pit stops. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see where they all come out. Where does everything filter as the race continues on? Alan Patterson gets a pass on Michael Donaldson. Now up into that top 5. Brandon Kruger all over the back of Darren Miller. He lies in 4th place and now looks to try and get past Miller, who runs out a bit wide. Runs in a little bit on the deeper side. Kruger not going to back down from this fight. Side by side they go. And it does look like Miller is able to just egg across and keep the likes of Brandon Kruger at bay. Mahath Musa going and losing out a bit of time, and it allows Christoph Peterson to get on by. Kruger snapping out of that and landing up, nearly going into the back of the Porsche, as Miller very defensive, keeping him at bay. And I think this is also coming down to helping his teammate and trying to focus on, look, we're racing for position. We are fighting for points here. I need every single point that I can get. But at the same time, he's looking to help his teammate. Oh, Brandon Kruger, though, getting the pass done and dusted. Miller landing into the weeds. Henry Platt now getting sorted. Let's quickly take a look at the 91 that landed up going out of control. So here was where it all started for them. Little bit of a move over, and the Porsche looking all okay. Miller able to carry on, and now it's just charging down. Second little bit of contact as Brandon Kruger getting close for a bump draft, lined himself up for the inside line, and I think this is where it all started going wrong yet again, as we do see Miller doing everything he can to hold a solid defense. Is it going to be enough, though? We did know that he snapped oversteer. Oh, wow. No, that wasn't a snap oversteer. That was a bit of assistance by Brandon Kruger to get that Porsche snapped out and underneath him. So now Miller in 3rd place will be scratching his head, trying to figure out what does he need to do, try and recover some time. The tires will be absolutely boiling due to its slide, and we'll be trying to figure out what's the next step here. So Brandon Kruger looking to try and get closer to Kieran Patterson, saw the threat at hand, a little bit of contact between the two, and unfortunately land up with Darren Miller down the order. Blicknote now 21 seconds off Darren Miller. Garrett Buick's a little bit further back, is 4.9 off the back of him. Donaldson is running 3.2 off the back of that. Henry Platt, Christoph Peterson, Mahath Musa, Alan Patterson coming out of pit lane right in front of his teammate Daniel De Villiers as they continue their way on. Alan looking to hold on to that top 10. Will have De Villiers, who's completed all these pit stops. So is Alan Patterson. Christoph Peterson is first of those that are leading out from their completed their pit stops. Tianas Buerta, Richard van Heerd, and Jude Neville all needing to get some stops done and dusted, as we do see Kieran Patterson into the pits. Brandon Kruger maintains and takes that first place. Darren Miller will hold second. Kieran Patterson will be keeping an eye out for where the rest of the drivers are, as Blicknote will look to try and get ahead at the moment. Kieran dropped off the jacks, trying to get going slowly but surely. Is it going to be enough, though? Nope. Blicknote getting that 3rd place. Kieran Patterson down into 4th. He's got some room to Gerrit Bucas running in 5th. Michael Donaldson in 6th. Henry Platt, Christoph Peterson, Mahath Musa, Daniel De Villiers, and Alan Patterson going and running around one another. So it does look like De Villiers got that pass done and dusted. Will continue on, giving it absolutely everything he has to stay in for the fight. Jude Neville down in 12th position, trying to make up some time with Jason Farmer in 13th. Rich van Heerd a little bit further down. keeping ahead of Tienes Buerta, who is out there really giving it horns, trying to make up some time. Rich Vineyard of the Project Vapor team looking to get a bit wild out there. So, Kieran Patterson, 1.6 seconds back, got Johan Bloknight in front of him. He has completed all these pit stops, so he's leading those that have done their pit stops and now needs to focus on maintaining a close enough gap to Brandon Kruger, Darren Miller, and Bloknight to ensure that once they pit, he's able to retake positions, especially to Brandon Kruger a little bit further up the road. So Brandon Kruger currently lying nearly 30 seconds up the road to the likes of Kieran Patterson. Is this going to be enough, though, for Kieran to really push hard and get past? Kieran was only stopped in the box for a... Now, Kieran would put on a new set of boots there, that's for certain, just taking a look at it. Tienes Buerta coming and trying to get going, and it looks like may have retired the car. Jude Neville, on the other hand, the 296, landing up, trying to get going after a bit of a spin out. So we have lost yet another driver to this race. And now, oh, this is Jude, wheel off into the dirt. And, oh, nearly made it through the gap. Couldn't go for the gap. Unfortunately, that was that. And a bit of a breakdown of note. We do have the likes of Paul Fenter giving us some information of why he had to retire the car. And maybe, Paul, if you want to come and explain it yourself, you're more than welcome to come towards the commentary box. We'll pull you in for the last 32 minutes of this race and get to hear what happened. But unfortunately, I mean, this is going to be one of the tough ones. The reports coming in is a wiring harness issue where the USB cable that was connected to the wheel pinched and snapped off one of the wires. So needing a bit of soldering to be done there, but instantly killing off that wheel and leaving him stranded to try and drive all the way through. So he's going to be watching from the sidelines and looking upon his teammates saying, come on guys, dig deep, get closer, let's go racing. And it's one of the things that we don't get to hear too often, is the wiring harness taking a bit of an impact there. Let's bring in Paul Fenter of Logistical Nightmare Racing and get to hear from the man himself. Paul, welcome to the commentary box. Not ideal circumstances though.
Boys, I did it a few laps before I crashed. As I jumped into the pits, the car just changed its own view, and then the pit limiter was switching on and off by itself, and I'm like, what the hell? And a few laps later, as I exited the first chicane, it just started cycling through the views, and I thought, wait a minute. Stopped the car, and I looked at the wire, and I'm like, there we go.
So a whole wiring harness issue getting caught in there. Rather unlucky in that regard to seeing it, but hopefully able to get the wheel back up and going coming for the final round. I'm sure that's going to be a bit of soldering work and then up and going.
Yeah, I've got a spare one here somewhere in the cupboard, so I'll go search for it and then test it and see if it works properly, because I haven't tested it. So yeah, check if it works, and then we'll try again next week.
Not ideal. After such an awesome race you had last night, it's not the way that you wanted to end it. Taking a look back, though, your team doing a rather good job out there, like Christoph Peterson, Jude Neville also going and pushing as hard as he can. Logistical Nightmare Racing currently on screen. Christoph Peterson fighting out with Mike Musa. Two rivals that have chased each other across the waters. What's the game plan for the team? Because there is the driver championship that's in play here for the likes of Christoph Peterson, but there's also the team championship that is out towards the sharp end of the field. You guys are running on 361 points at current, but it's all about getting it to the end. Is there any game plan or strategies at this point, considering PWSR Alpha is 358 points behind you?
No, I think the boys are just going, as we would say, ball to the wall. Christoph's just going to go and see how far I can go. Jude killed himself, and then, I don't know, jumped into the pits, and I don't know, I see he's back in the pits, so I don't know if he's actually fixing the car, what his plans are. But yeah, he said something about I think putting on new tires and just going and circulating to see. Oh, never mind. I see he just ducked out. I think he's had enough. He didn't do any practice, so he's like, no, screw this. But yeah, Christoph will go and he'll keep driving. And then yeah, the boys will be back next week with all of them. Berries is away on holiday for the long weekend, so that's why he's not racing. So yeah, so the boys will all be there next week again. And we'll try again and finish off the season.
That's going to be a good one. Well, taking a look back at the race, a bit of a busy start for yourself. How was it out there with the grid on a very tight circuit?
It was fun, man. I think it was nice and clean. I didn't really see too much death or kills happening in the first 1 or 2 laps. I know that Christoph got slammed up the rear by a Ferrari, but we're kind of used to that by now with him and someone driving up his rear. So, you know, it's one of those things.
Now, definitely a tough time out there. Well, Paul, any last things you would like to say to all the admin, to the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, the petrol heads that are currently cheering on in the virtual grandstands, seeing the amazing fighting happening out between Kurt Bukes and Michael Donaldson, and as we've been keeping a close eye on Mahath Musa and Christoph Peterson as a close fight between the two of them.
Yeah, I guess what we can say is boys have fun, and those not racing, that's a sad excuse to be sitting in the grandstands. Come race, except Dino. Dino, you have some beers. You've been given forced time leave, so you take your leave. I'll join you on the drinking side for now, and then everyone else get your asses back on track. Away we go.
We actually did have Dino come into the commentary box to have a chat about the PWSR strategies, so it's definitely keeping an ear out and monitoring as well, just feeding back that information. But thank you very much, Paul, of the Just Call Nightmare Racing. Sorry about the wiring harness getting caught out, but hope to see you back up and racing shortly.
Awesome. Cheers, everyone.
Fantastic stuff. So Paul Fenter of the Just Call Nightmare Racing going and running into a bit of a problem and having to forcibly retire the car as Rich Van Heert coming off the gas, allowing likes of Christoph Peterson and Mahath Musa to have a go at one another. And that's just created enough of a concertina effect for the likes of our runners of Christoph Peterson and Mahath Musa fighting out for 8th and 9th. Leading out the pack though, 27 minutes ago, Brandon Kruger, Darren Miller, Kieran Patterson, along with Kurt Bukes, along with Michael Donaldson in that top 5. Henry Platt in 6th, 7th is Johan Blicknote. And Mahath Musa getting the pass done on Christoph Peterson and gets it all done and dusted. He's in 8th now, and Christoph Peterson in 9th as they were fighting it out for the top running order. Blicknote, who is currently 7 seconds up the road, is that leading between them and currently holding a net 2nd place as Christoph tries to make up some time. Daniel de Villiers in that top 10 along with Alan Patterson, Jason Farmer, Richard Van Heert, and Connor Bergstrom still in pit lane. So something has gone on with his car. Unfortunately, is not continuing on the race and having to retire that car. Not really ideal for him at the moment, as drivers will have to really put their head down in for the final run here. Brandon Kruger, if he gets a win here tonight, folks, that means he successfully becomes the champion of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship and been in a serious fight for season 21 with the likes of Dean O'Keefe, unfortunately, who's not going to be driving the last round. Christoph Peterson's a little bit too far down to be able to make up those points. Unless something happens to Brandon Kruger at current, it looks like we have going to be crowning our pro class champion for our RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship. Christoph Peterson losing a lot of time to Mahath Musa as they make their way through. Daniel de Villiers getting ahead of Alan Patterson, and 25 minutes coming in. We do see Rich Van Heert into the pit lane to serve his final pit stop for the Project Vapor team to get it done and dusted. He will take his box, get lined up, and get going. That leaves Brandon Kruger to do 1 stop, Darren Miller to do 2 stops, and the likes of Kurt Bukes needs to do 1 stop, Donaldson needs to do 1 stop, and Henry Platt running in 6th needs to do one more pit stop. So all running in a bit interesting enough. Darren Miller, though, got to say, double stacking his picture, may be gambling big time on a big win for his part. Going to be splashes and dashes, I would think. I don't think there's going to be any tires hooked on. They're running out of time. He's going to try and do it on single sinter tires, like much of his teammates have done over the past. Maeth Musa and Christoph Pedersen still running in a bit of formation flying there. De Villiers and Patterson continue on their drive. Rich Vanierda out of pit lane, rejoins the race as he continues on his drive to really make it work here at Alton Park. And now this is one of those difficult circuits where you've just got to try and keep your head into the game, especially when you are out in a bit of no man's land, like Darren Miller as a good one, 22 seconds behind Brandon Kruger. He's 6 seconds, nearly 7 seconds to Kieran Patterson, his teammate behind him. He's going to be focusing on those lap times, saying, right, I need to hit a 1 minute 32 continuously to make it work, or I need to be sitting at 1:33. And Darren Miller's last lap time 1:34.9, best lap time of a 1:34.2. Maeth Musa, who we keep an eye on now, doing 1:33.7 on his last lap, 1:33.1 as his best. So there is that little bit of a development coming in, consistency needing to come out from the drivers to ensure that they stay in for the fight and through it all. 23 minutes ago, though, around the splendid track that Alton Park lending itself to touring car racing, bike racing, single-seater racing, even GT3 racing happens here quite often, and the drivers are getting to experience the tight circuit. If anyone that has ever been to a track day up in Gauteng, Alton Park, very similar in style to the likes of Red Star Raceway in its highs and lows and undulations and corners, and fast sweeps are very reminiscent to the likes of, I would say it's closer to Swakop's Raceway, come to think about it, in terms of driving. And that's going to keep everyone on notice. Michael Donaldson, though, into the wall. And now just trying to bring the car back. The number 1 was on a splendid run. And did he put a wheel wrong? And that allowed Kerry Bukes to get on by. So this is Donaldson. Down the gears, bringing it back on the throttle. Touches the dirt, snap oversteer, and ricocheting off the walls. And that, unfortunately, is Michael Donaldson needing some major repair work to his car. That's going to work into the hands of Henry Platt now. He's going to be rubbing his hands together and saying, right, let's go after this. Let's try and make some room here and see whether we can gain a position or knock down Michael Donaldson out of that top 5, as he will get that repair work done to his car during the course of his pit stop. But he's going to fall down the order, possibly getting so close to dropping out of the top 10, depending on where the drivers are at the track, whether they fight each other or not. At the current, though, everyone's still maintaining a positive gap between one another, roughly about 2 seconds and more. The only two that are the closest on circuit is Henry Platt and Michael Donaldson, as we do see Michael heading into the pit lane to serve his final pit stop and get a bit of repair work done to the car. Expect that to be a good 25 seconds extra to be done and dusted. You're going and extending your stop to nearly a minute to get himself sorted out, which is not what you want to have around this very, very tight circuit of Alton Park, because it is a very short circuit. It's one of the shorter circuits on the RaceFace calendar for this season, and with the British circuits being a very technical one, to try and reclaim positions is not going to work. Alan Patterson and Daniel De Villiers come on by. Donaldson still stuck in pit lane, trying to get himself up and going after having that snap oversteer, touching the grass and having the rear snap out underneath him. Brandon Kruger, 38 laps in, is leading out the pack and just on a bit of a cruise at this point. Last lap time, a 1:32.8. His best lap time, a 1:32.495 on the way through. Gotta say, looking at these times, it's absolutely staggering to see what drivers are able to do out there. Darren Miller, who is currently running in second place. 19 minutes and 46 seconds to go, is going to be cheered on by his wife, going and saying, come on, that's going. And his daughter also going and giving him a tap on the head, saying, right, you got to keep you in the game here. Can't let the likes of Uncle Kieran to get that jump up through the order. So Kieran's just going to try and keep the motivation up here. We did hear a little bit later, earlier on, from Dean here that Kieran Patterson is going to be going back into the world of cricket and such. So he will be walking away with the steering wheel for a little bit at this point, going and representing the South African flag yet again. So a big shout out to Kieran Patterson on that one. Good to hear. And it also does give you a bit of an insight. Not all the drivers are just pure sim racers. They do have other sports that they tend to dabble in and have a bit of fun. Also, various walks of life kicking in can change up the ball game. Brandon Kruger, for one, he is actually rather noticeable for selling PC parts that have been repaired. And that does help if you are constrained on a budget. You can't afford the newest stuff. Keep an eye on Brandon Kruger, as he does go and tend to have like graphics cards and all such coming into the fray of things. Darren Miller, an incredible driver, now needing to deal with Kieran Patterson. I don't think there's going to be too much of an argument between these two. I think it's going to be easy switcheroo between them to continue on their race nonetheless. So good to see a number of drivers still pushing themselves that little bit more and focusing on the race at hand. Daniel de Villiers is only a second away from Alan Patterson. Now this originally was nearly 2 seconds. Alan's brought it back with that Aston Martin, which leads me to believe the Nissan GTR's tires are starting to drop off. The endurance of the driver is starting to drop off. And now Alan has an opportunity to pull himself along in that slipstream, as Kieran Patterson looking to try and get past Darren Miller, both fighting it out in through the hairpin. And looks like Kieran not able to get that pass done and dusted yet. Will follow through. Next chicane, not going to be a good idea to go for a pass. He's going to wait, try and get that slingshot round. Side by side. Oh, Miller gets a tank slapper. That's killed his exit speed. And here comes Kieran Patterson to get the drive and now take second place in the race. Miller tried to fight him out. Looked around the outside yet again. And unfortunately, that Porsche just not having the legs to work out. And he will have to give back. He'll fall down the order. Brandon Kruger, though, one more pit stop to go. Darren Miller with 2 pit stops. Herb Bukes with 1 pit stop. And Henry Platt needing to do 1 more pit stop. So we are starting to see drivers really considering and weighing up their options here. A lot of drivers that did do an earlier pit stop didn't quite come up on top, like Mahath Mus, Jason Farmer, Donaldson, all landing up. Well, Donaldson had repair work done to his car, but Mahath Mus being a good one there. And Johan Blicknight, he's currently out in 6th place. Also did an earlier stop in trying to continue his way around, ensuring they could just muscle on to keep that bit of momentum, as Darren Miller losing more time to Kieran Patterson, who's now starting to open up the gap. Alan Patterson and Daniel de Villiers, nose to tail between the two of them. And it does look like Patterson coming back for a bit of a fight here. And old man Patterson got himself a new set of teeth as he wishes to show to his teammate. Now, we've seen some huge fights in the past. Oh, man, never mind. De Villiers just giving him that bit of room. And says, led on by Alan, you pull me along for a little bit as well. Generally, we did see Alan Patterson get his teeth out earlier in the season and really get into a fight. Unfortunately, this time around, though, de Villiers going and opting to give him that position, focus on preserving his tyres a little bit longer, and then will continue on his charge throughout the race. They're hoping to stay within the top 10 at the moment. It does look like a very positive run, as they are ahead of Michael Donaldson, 26.5 seconds behind the current pack. Brandon Kruger leads it out, though. Yet another lap of circulating. Drivers have done 1 hour and 4 minutes of racing here at the beautiful track of Alton Park, and still continuing on the legacy efforts of the teams to ensure that they can keep the running pack. I mean, this is turning into a bit of a wild one. And where are drivers going to ultimately come out is the question. Are they going to be able to stay up ahead Are they going to continue to push themselves that little bit further? Have they got enough left in the tires? Darren Miller now pulling into the pits will get his pit stop done and dusted to ensure he's up and going. So we are seeing some slight changes coming into play. De Villiers hangs on to the back of Patterson, looking for his option to retake the position. So good to see that he hasn't given up the fight. He's just making himself a little bit more available to protect those tires, protect the fuel, and get going. So a bit of history on Alton Park while we got 14 minutes ago. It was the integral part of the fabric of the British motorsport scene, much like Brands Hatch, and has been it's been around for more than half a century of racing here at Alton Park. The 4.3 kilometer circuit is going and continuing to be a really exciting one, but also half a century is no easy feat. It's definitely a picturesque moment circuit, lots of scenery, lots of shrubbery, and also that big lake onto the side, and it is absolutely great for the drivers to enjoy. So great to see that everyone having a bit of fun. There's actually races in the circuit actually is in a place called Little Budsworth. Now, for many people that don't know where that is, it's actually out by the Cheshire. So good to see, and it's out Cheshire, England. So if you guys want to go and take a look, Little Budsworth is actually a very small place, and it's definitely got a lot of history for both motorsport and for the likes of our running order. As Miller fights it out with Musa, he dives into the pits. Musa will be getting past. Henry Platz is in the pits, and Johan Blicknote getting a position. Myers Musa into 5th. Now, lots of people are very abrupt with the circuit, but let me give you a bit of an idea of what has raced here and has been a really good contention. The British Formula 3 races and the British Touring Car Championships are following. They've always been on the circuit along with GT3 racing, and including a series of non-championship Formula 1 races in the 1960s and the 1970s, known as the International Gold Cup, was hosted here at Alton Park. And once again, non-championship points. Those are just to come out and have fun, and actually had a grid size that was measurable to the likes of our current, if not a little bit more. 1960s, they had close on to 50 cars entering, where the average Joe could build a Formula 1 car in their garage, not all with a big complicated parts, utilizing a 2-litre. You take a look at the old Coopers that used to race during that time, and they used a 2-litre Alpha motor, and it's great stuff. So good to see that it's been a interesting circuit that really does bring a lot to the table in both legacy and current, where the SRO constantly race around it. We've also seen the likes of motorbikes, MotoGP, non-championship rounds have come here, and also lots of local regional racing from the beautiful sights and sounds of the UK, coming and bringing in vast machinery. If you actually go back a little bit, you can find some Pragas that Jimmy Broadbent was racing that actually went around here as well, for those big fans of Jimmy Broadbent, one of the top sim racers in the world and content creators for sim racing. Got to say that this was one of the good tracks out in the UK that tests you on your momentum, your rhythm, and your skill, as it requires you to be constantly locked into the fight and keep going, versus a mainline circuit such as Silverstone, which everyone knows. Silverstone, a huge legacy of a racetrack to go through and continue on. 2 drivers yet to go and pull into the pits, and that is Brandon Kruger and Garrett Bukes. They're running them out a little bit longer, and it's going to be a proper interesting run to see how the drivers will contend with this race and how far they're willing to go. Bukes and Kruger running it to the last little bit. 10 minutes to go, and there is Darren Miller ahead of Kruger that will be protecting his options. Garrett Bukes now pulling into the pits and getting told that he needs to do a splash and dash and get out. Don't think it's going to be a change of tyres there. Not to lose too much time. He has lost out to Blicknote, who will now inherit that third place behind. Musa will take fourth as we keep an eye out on Kruger, whether he's going to pull into the pits, and is that going to impact his run? Because if he pulls in the pits now, he has a very, very high chance that Kieran Patterson's going to beat him, as Kieran will be on the back of him. We did see Miller going in, allowing for the pass to happen. Didn't make it too easy for him, though. Kruger going to continue on the drive, trying to make up some time. Henry Platt underneath the Carrot Bukes and really leans on that Mustang. That has got a bit of damage to the front end. Carrot Bukes still trying everything he can. Hasn't got as much air on his nose as he once would like, but that Mustang is still putting in a huge fight. Alan Patterson's now joined in, so 6, 7, 8 is now all within a second of one another. Aston Martin, Ford Mustang, and Aston Martin all making their run through. No V12 Aston Martin, so unfortunately it's only the V8s. So good to see that the drivers are continuing their fights, with Alan Patterson now having an option to get past the likes of Carrot Bukes, who had sustained that little bit of damage. Will now need to continue on figuring where's the next option. How far can I go? What's going to be the game plan here? Over the curb, you can see constantly getting unsettled. The bounce coming in. Whoa, Bukes going in, closing the door on Patterson, as there was a move expected. Alan coming off the throttle, now looks to try and see where he goes. Bukes going and moving slightly over, closes up that door, not wide enough for the Aston Martin to put his nose in. And Alan Patterson now looking for the best option, try and get that slipstream effect, pull himself along. He knows that there's a bit of front end aero damage to Carrot's car. He's going to try and look into turn one and just couldn't make it stick. Carrot Bukes is able to slow the car down on the apex, and that is all that he needed to just try and hold back Alan Patterson. Daniel de Villiers, however, in the Nissan GTR, starting to come up to join the train. 7 minutes and 37 seconds left of this race. Major points on the line for every single one of the drivers. Carrot Bukes trying to make up as much time as he can, as he looks to fight it out. Going to try and force Alan around the outside. Both going through almost the carousel, and Bukes going and straightening up that steering wheel, able to come across. Alan's going to try for the inside, look for the switchback though, keeps it nice and tight. And de Villiers now having an option to go after Alan Patterson. So now let's see how this is going to work, as Daniel de Villiers looking left, looking right, not going to go on the attack just as yet, but is trying to get the attention of his own teammates, as Michael Donaldson into the weeds, losing that rear end, and now going to be facing the likes of Jason Farmer, who looks to try and close up the gap. Number one car, unfortunately, not having an easy time out there after his initial contact early on in the race. Daniel de Villiers looks left, looks right, looks to the outside, couldn't quite go and fights it back. Alan looked for the inside of Carrot Bukes, once again trying to push as hard as he can. I think Alan is now completely fixated onto the back of Bukes' car and not wanting to go and lose out that opportunity. De Villiers hunting him down at this point, trying to figure out where he can go. And Carrot going a very defensive drive, holds the inside line, keeps it wide. Alan loses the drive, and here comes the Nissan GTR on his left-hand side, who backs out of it. De Villiers going and running a little bit sensibly here, not wanting to put the nose up on the inside and land up with a bit of a problem. Contact between Carrot Bukes. No! Contact between Carrot Bukes and Alan Patterson, landed up taking his own teammate into it as well. That was a big one. That was a big one. We were on board. There was nothing that could have been done for the likes. Oh, man. De Villiers had nowhere to go. Bang, there's the contact. I just think that Mustang lost its rear. I just want to recheck that just to doubly make sure. So this was into the hairpin, and Patterson was so close and forcing likes of... Oh, no, there was no forcing there. That was just forcing the door open himself. having a little bit more pace, landed up with a contact and actually went into his own teammate as well in that regard. So not only does Carrot have that bit of damage, but he's also had the likes of Daniel de Villiers with a bit of damage. We do see Miller has gained a position though as they continue on. But Carabukes, got to give it up to the gentleman though. As much as there has been the argy-bargy, the bites, the scratches that's been going on, he's still out there. He's still driving. And that is what we love to see. Drivers continuing on despite circumstances, getting to see the car to the end. Something I reiterate every single race. Just keep your head in it. Go see the checkered flag through the right way, under your own steam, under your own power, and continue to go on. Unless there is something absolutely terminal with the car, try and get yourself going. There will be a bit of damage to the likes of Carrot's car. He's losing that top end. He gains a little bit and loses it out to Carrot Bukes. Donaldson now into the pits, getting his car sorted out, and will be coming in from 12th position. Carrot Bukes trying to keep his bit of momentum going on. A bit of information coming in from the virtual grandstand. I don't think we're going to see his rig going for sale. When we talk about the rig, we talk about the physical, what you're utilizing, your steering wheel, pedals, and also the chassis that it's all bolted to, if not bolted to your table. But I would be quite frustrated if he had to put it on sale because of what's gone on. I mean, bad luck is one thing, and it does get shaken off in time, but it is not the reason to really toss it out the door. And considering he's putting in all the effort at the moment, just to really throw the towel in at this point is not ideal circumstances. Mark Donaldson getting some repair work done to his car. He lies in 12th position and will be waiting a bit more. Brandon Kruger, however, leads out the pack. He is onto the back of De Villiers and will be looking to try and get by. Kieran Patterson, 28.6 seconds behind him. So Kruger going to try and make short work, and we'll try and figure out how he can get by. I think De Villiers is going to follow to the rules here. He can maintain his driving line. He just needs to help facilitate a pass. He can't defend his position, but if Kruger can't get close enough, once again, you're not able to get close enough. There's no obligation to come off the gas. And at the moment, that is what we're getting to see. Mahath Musa, though, yellow flags for him, as a white flag for slow car, slow moving traffic. Mahath Musa getting his way through the 54, having a bit of a wait up for Christoph Peterson, interesting enough, and allowing Christoph Peterson to gain a position. So are these two going to pull each other along? Why would the number 7 get the change? So let's quickly take a look at what happened to the 54. And did he just slow down? Drive looking good. And he actually physically braked to just try and get Peterson closer. So, bit of an interesting one there to see the likes of Myers was braking. He does hand the position to Christoph Peterson, who runs in 4th place, and will keep going. Brandon Kruger, as we heard, on his final lap. Kieran Patterson in 2nd place. Johan Bluknote will get that same word. So, Christoph Peterson, Myers Musa, Henry Platt, Alan Patterson, Daniel de Villiers, along with Darren Miller, Carrot Bukes, still out on the circuit holding that top 10. Jason Farmer in 11th. 12th, Richard Van Heet, with Michael Donaldson and Conor Bergstrom continuing on their drive on the way through. Musa trying to close up to Peterson after standing on the anchor. So once again, can't fathom why the driver would do that. Possibly to just allow for a pass to be done. Conor Bergstrom allowing Brandon Kruger to come on by. A very, very hard braking lets him go by. But Brandon Kruger, with only a couple of more corners to go, will be smiling ear to ear on this one. It has been a tough championship right the way through. Had to work for it. Couldn't quite beat out Dean Nokia on some of the tracks, but on others had the leg up. The Mustang driver, the Omnius Gaming KSR driver, Brandon Kruger, rounds the second last corner, heading towards the final. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our season 21 winner of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 championship, Brandon Kruger, takes the championship. Kieran Patterson will take second place here tonight. Johan Bluchnout will be scoring some major points for his championship and will have a shot at going for the top 3 heading into the final round of our racing next week. So he has an opportunity to lock out that third place. Christoph Peterson running in 4th place needs to try and pick up some time. He will be scoring some valuable points here to ensure he carries on, with Mahais Musa second behind him. Henry Platt in 6th, 7th places. Alan Patterson, Daniel De Villiers, Darren Miller, Tara Bukes, Jason Farmer will be in 11th place. Rich van Heerden will come across the line in 12th. Michael Donaldson in 13th. And 14th place goes to Connor Bergstrom. So coming right the way through, Brandon Kruger taking the overall win and walking away with a win for the pros and our season 21 champion. As Christoph Peterson, going and sliding it around, now trying to just have a bit of a donut there, as the championship first place has been decided. It's all about who got second and third. That's going to come down to the final race of all of it come next week. So absolutely phenomenal run by our drivers. Incredible racing nonetheless. And a congratulations to our new champion for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship. Absolutely tremendous racing from all the drivers out there. Close, hard-fought racing, a little bit elbow to elbow, I won't lie. But second and third is still on the line for all the drivers heading into next week, barring only first place missing out on it. So, that being said, though, let's take a look at our GT3 Championship. A couple of highlights of the racing while we look forward to pulling in some of our guest invites to come and have a chat to us. Our top 3, Brandon Kruger, Kieran Patterson, Johan Bluchnout, locking out first, second, and third. I'll be quite lucky to have a chat to Brandon Kruger, considering he has taken the overall victory for season 21. Carrot going and putting in a considerable effort, locking out that top 10. Rich van Heerden in 12th position as well, gaining a lot of traction, a lot of time on his running through. So got to say, some exciting times here at Alton Park, despite a little bit of a smaller grid that we used to, but still some great racing running through it all. So first up to come to the commentary box is our newly crowned champion and our overall winner for tonight. Let's bring in Brandon Kruger. Brandon Kruger, welcome to the commentary box, and well done on taking season 21's championship for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 championship. How are you feeling?
Hi, Stephen. I didn't even realize I won the championship. No, it's awesome. I was, it's a surprise. Thank you. It's awesome. But yeah, no, the race was, it was, whilst the good result, I must say I was a little disappointed with myself. I was making so many mistakes, Stephen. You would not believe. I think last night was better than tonight, even though I was quicker. But yeah, it was one hell of a race, that's for sure.
Incredible running through. Now, we did see it got a little bit busy trying to navigate through a couple of back markers that were in the fights with one another. What was the game plan to try and get around them?
I was only really up against one. I mean, if we look at Peterson, he was very nice to oblige. Bergstrom was nice to oblige. I only had one tussle with Miller. Of course, he was for position. He didn't make it easy. That's for sure. But yeah, no, it went well. I was kind of in a bubble most of the time, so I wasn't really worried about back markers, fortunately. There were some spins I see, Bierkes, he went off in the hairpin of death, came back on the grid. I had a little bit of a mini heart attack. I thought he was going to carry on going high. Fortunately, it was just on the lower part of the hairpin. But yeah, no, it's a hectic race.
Well, taking a look, it's been a long time since you've managed to secure a championship in the race. Here at RaceFace.Pro, finally managing to break the streak. I mean, let's tie everyone back last season, and I know this is going to be a bit of PTSD for you. Round 1 a DNF, round 2 21st position, round 3 it did not start, round 4 it did not start, a 10th for round 5, it did not start for round 6, a 9th, a 13th, going and rounding out, you finishing in 19th position. A huge jump to finish first in the championship for season 21. I'm sure that is a big boot to the confidence of finally get to show what I can do.
Yeah, I would say in the 21 seasons of RaceFace, I have unfortunately been dealt a bad hand with regards to either a terrible load shedding schedule, the game crashing. It's been a lot more stable as of late. I think in the past year I've never had a crash, which was lucky. But yeah, last season I think I would have finished fifth in the first race. I believe it was Imola. My wheel, I remember I had wheel issues every other race as well. So if you saw any DNF or me just like all of a sudden turning right into a barrier during a race, it was all just a wheel issue. So I don't think in the 21 seasons of RaceFace I've ever done a full season where I've been able to successfully pitch up for every single race, and that's a shame. I think, or maybe the second season. I think it was the second season where I was able to pitch for every race. But yeah, it's been a good season thus far. I did have some disconnect issues in round 4, or round 4, round 5, just before quali, and then I had to make a plan real quick. So to be able to win the championship finally, obviously it's not against some of my all-time rivals that I always had fun racing with. But it's still a good feeling nonetheless. Let's hope for the final race I get to finish that one, not disconnect, not have load shedding, and then I'll be able to pack the season away with pride.
Oh, absolutely great stuff nonetheless, and walking away with a crown for the championship. But Brandon, I mean, this has been a bit of a wild ride. For your moment that you would take away from the championship, saying that was the highlight moment, what would it be for you?
I must say, what's that Italian track now? You see, I hate this track so much, I don't even know the name. What was the wet, dry race that we had? What is that track's name?
Wasn't that Messino?
Misano, yes, that track. I have never had much luck or success with that track, and it's also one of the most horrid tracks for me. I know a lot of my friends like it, but I just don't like that track. But to be able to win there, also do well, brand new car. No, that was good. That was huge, for sure. That was definitely my favorite race. And then obviously, Zolder might have been a bad one result-wise. But if we take a look at the action, the battling I had to do, that was probably the most fun race for me. Despite the drive-through, I still managed to battle it out with some strong drivers and prevailed. So I'm happy with those two.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Well, Brandon, before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations for winning the championship and also winning tonight's race, round 7 of 8 rounds for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship, anything you would like to say to our amazing partners, Scallywags Drift Academy, Red Star Raceway, and Rhino Utility for being on board with us this season?
Scallywags, Red Star Raceway, Rhino Utility, thank you guys for sponsoring the stream. Thanks for all the work that Hunty does behind the scene, the stewards. Thank you to you, Stephen, for your commentary. It's always fun to rewatch the race afterwards and catch all the excitement. Thanks to everyone in the YouTube chat. Thanks for watching, commenting, and keeping everyone entertained. And as well as thanks to my team. They were very concerned for me as well this season with all the bad luck I've been through. So I appreciate that they They shared their concerns with me, and thanks obviously to Omnius Gaming sponsors, Init Apparel, ASU Monitors, and Switch Energy. Switch Energy, I had a nice drop a month or two back. It was absolutely wonderful from them, so thank you very much, and God bless.
Fantastic. Brandon Kruger taking the win for the championship in the Pro Division and also taking the win here tonight for the Omnius Gaming KSR team. Let's bring in a couple of other drivers to have a chat to, such as, let's bring in second place, Kieran Patterson, after his incredible drive. Kieran Patterson, welcome to the commentary box. What a race on your part. Going and running through the order, managing to secure second place here. You weren't in the championship fight this time around, but you didn't give any reprieve to anyone that is fighting first, second, and third in the championship. How are you feeling with this race?
I'm feeling happy with the result. We take the podium. That's okay. We can't complain with that. The car wasn't working as well as what the Fords were, so it was kind of just a damage limitation. Just do the best that we can, and yeah, it was nice to get on the podium at least.
It was definitely some hard work out there. Take us through the race from your point of view, because you were keeping very, very close to a number of the different vehicles, and this circuit doesn't lend itself too well for likes of aero wash going and throwing you off a track. How did you feel with being in a train for so long, especially at the start of the race where you landed up just trying to figure your way through traffic?
Yeah, just doing everything I can, obviously not to make contact with Brandon ahead. So it was quite nip and tuck at a few moments, but it was really unfortunate that we couldn't hit the curbing as hard as what the Fords could. So we knew that we'd get pressure loss in our tires, and that would obviously cause us then to lose at least half a second a lap. So we had to drive completely different, but it was nice and tight. It was good racing. Thought you were always in it at the end, but not quite, trying to close down the gap, but couldn't. So it's okay. At the end of the day, the Fords were better in the day, so that's all right. Hopefully next week is different.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. And also going and moving up with some points in the championship is no easy feat, and also for the team championship that we're having. But from your side, I mean, if you had to take a highlight out of this race, what will it be for you?
The fact that I didn't find the wall at the hairpin. No, there's not much highlights to take from it. It was a poor qualifying performance. The race pace was okay. It wasn't consistent enough. No major highlight, but glad that all the guys in the team could get in the top 10 at least. I'd say that's the highlight of the night.
Absolutely great stuff. I mean, this has been some exciting racing, and once again, congratulations to you and the entire PWSR team. Anything you would like to say to all the partners out there at RaceFace.Pro, to all the teams, drivers, and all to our petrol heads as we get ready for the final race next week for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship Season 21?
Thanks as usual to yourself for the stream and the commentary. We really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone that supported all the drivers. It really does help us a lot, and it means a lot to us, even though we don't kind of show it half the time, but it really does. I know my mom and my gran and everyone, they always watch. So yeah, it's nice to have support in the background as well. So thanks to all of you, and hopefully next week is another showstopper for everyone.
Absolutely incredible stuff. And Kieran, on behalf of the entire sim racing in South Africa, thanks for flying the flag so high in your sport outside of sim racing. We do hear that you're going on your travels and such. So Kieran, keep flying the South African flag so high, and we've got your back all the way.
Cheers. Thanks, Steve. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Kieran Patterson, second place of the race, and Team PWSR going and showing off what they can do. Let's bring in our third place here tonight. Johan Blicknote's going to be happy with that one. Mr. Blicknote, welcome to the commentary box, and seeing you a little bit more often and the result working out in your favor here tonight. Third place, not an easy feat. How are you feeling considering you came in lying 7th in the championship? You managed to finish ahead of Mahayath Musa. You didn't have Tian Elof. You didn't have Ryan Barrington-Smith. Didn't have Mordre Claessens to contend with. and that has just started moving you up closer towards that top 3 heading into the final round.
Hi, Steven. Yeah, my arms are dead after tonight's race. This track 2 days in a row, it's not for the weak.
Definitely a difficult circuit nonetheless. But from your side, I mean, the race itself looked like you were in some tremendous action, even against your own teammates. And take us through that follow the leader sort of approach. We did see the little bit of a nudge on the back and seemed like braking was a bit of a difficult one.
Yeah, we had some bumps and bruises through some stages, me, Michael and Daniel. But then I asked Michael, is he going to start pushing or can I battle him? And then we just went in it and someone took out a brake marker on one corner and he missed the brake point. I thought I tapped him, but there was enough space between us. And yeah, I'm sorry for if I hit Daniel. I'm sorry for that. But it's a, how can I say, a really narrow track and it's not a lot of space to be leaving.
Well, still some great racing to be had. Black Knight, you did get 3rd place though. That's a maximum. That's scoring some good points for the championship. Not only for the team, but also scoring some points for the driver championship. Anything you would like to say to our amazing partners here at RaceFace.Pro, to all the drivers and teams out there, and most importantly, our absolute legendary petrol heads that were standing around the entirety of the circuit, admiring the scenery and also admiring the racing action on track.
First of all, just want to thank Red Star Raceway, Rhino Utility, and Scallywags for making this possible, giving us the exposure we need. And then to the team and our partners from the team, AOC, Switch Energy, and Init, for making us wear their name on our cars. And then for the most important parts, the petrolheads that show up every Thursday and giving us support. I hope we can give them the action they came to see.
Well, you're going to be taking the championship fight into the final round. Congratulations and well done to Jan Bloknotes, taking 3rd place for round 7 of the RaceFace.Pro Pro Division Championship. So, with that being said, that does bring us to the end of tonight's broadcast. But considering tonight is a bit of a special night, not the way that people generally know, let's take you back a couple of seasons, you go back a season or two. Tristan Herbst, one of the drivers, actually going and raising his hand saying, listen, I'd like to try out going and doing a bit of sim commentary and being a part of it. Eventually having a chat to Bert's Hugo, got to get stuck with me and I think I drove him insane. Quickly finding his own feet, his own voice, and going and getting out there to the rest of the world. Also doing some real world commentary at Red Star Raceway as well. He's been your voice in your ears every Thursday night for our Pro-Ams that have been putting on an incredible show. But he will not be going away for a long time. He will be back for the bigger races, back for the Enduros and all that goes on. We've actually got him here. Tristan, welcome to the commentary box for the Thursday night, the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship. This is your last time that you're broadcasting it on the Pro-Am side, but it has been an incredible one, and I speak on behalf of every single person here. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done, coming in and week out to be here, part of all the fun, part of all the excitement. And the intro video that you guys get to see every week has been made by Tristan Herbst, along with some of the overlays as well that we get to utilize here at RaceFace.Pro.
Well, I mean, appreciate it, Steve. Thanks so much for the amazing outro. I don't think I could have said it better. And from the person who taught me from the ground up as well with some of the best tips of commentating and how to keep things going. Also, just mega thanks to Steve. It's someone who will never say no to anything. You know, it's a guy who's always there, someone who will always be there to open up opportunities for you. So again, massive appreciation to Steve. But also, it's just a huge appreciation to RaceFace. Like a couple of people have mentioned in interviews, that I don't think people know the sheer scale of the show that Steven and I used to, but now mainly just Steven And before I joined, also just Stephen, the amount and the sheer scale of show that is put on here almost 3 times a week at night that is brought to you on a pure volunteer basis here at RaceFace.Pro. There is admin work, there is stewardship, there is streaming, there is broadcasting, all in a week span and all to be redone for the next week so that everything keeps up to date. There is a process that goes on here, and RaceFace.Pro has done that process for, as you can see, over 21 seasons already. So props again to RaceFace.Pro. They know what they're doing. If you're ever looking to come somewhere and start yourself out in sim racing, if you ever some people really want to actually come into sim racing, not even just for racing, maybe even you've got the voice and you really want to try, this is definitely a place to start. It's definitely a place where they will welcome you. It's a welcoming community, and it has always been my home and will remain to be my home until it's forever end, because RaceFace is there to stay in the South African community. So again, thank you to that, and it has been a phenomenal honor to commentate for the past couple of seasons, and I couldn't have actually asked to commentate for another league.
Absolutely great stuff. And, well, you're going to be a happy team owner as well, as Brandon Kruger taking the championship for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 championship, and by the end of this, taking a win. So I'm sure as one of the team owners and one of the leading out the sim racing, that's going to also put a big smile on your face. But Tristan, we've gone over our time here. We've had some huge amount of efforts put in on the Pro-Am side and the Pro side with some incredible racing. Sunday, we've got the Le Mans Ultimate that is going out. That's a bit of a social fun race for those that enjoy some multi-class racing. So do go and attend. It's going to be a great one. But Tristan, any closing thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I mean, all I can say again is just like thank you to everybody, the virtual grandstand, who actually came and supported the streams, actually came and watched RaceFace for what it is. Thanks for the drivers, everybody actually put on the show. You know, without you, there wouldn't be something to speak about. You guys race phenomenally well. No matter the division you guys are in, you guys all put on a show. You race to your heart's content, and that's what we love to see in the South African scene. So yeah, like we've mentioned a couple of times, I'm not disappearing whatsoever. I am also a team manager for Omnia's Gaming, and it's amazing to hear that we've also won another championship, which is phenomenal. But I'll also be staying in the scene in terms of a commentary perspective, just on a slightly smaller scale, where I still can operate in my time. So I'm definitely still going to be here. So for anybody who really loves me that much, I definitely am not disappearing permanently, and I'll definitely will still be here. It's just going to be sayonara for the weekly races. But without that, besides all of that, massive thank you, and may the show go on.
That's it. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you've heard me say it every night for 7 weeks in a row. I think tonight is going to be Tristan's night. Tristan, would you like to lead us out of this phenomenal race?
Absolutely. So like always, ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed tonight's race broadcasted by the legend of Stephen Koenig, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a follow, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and all of our other social media platforms to keep up with the world of RaceFace. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, it has reached the end of our race here. Next week, round 8 at Red Bull Ring. I hope everybody has a fantastic night, and like always, a good morning, a good evening, a good afternoon, and good night, everybody. Having a fantastic night further, and we'll see you next week.